Hey, it's Amber, and welcome to season 3 of Politics But Make It Fashion. Come chat with me. Hey guys, happy Sunday. I hope that everybody is having a wonderful week. It's been pretty nice outside, besides it being a little muddy. So hopefully everybody's gotten outside and gotten a little fresh air and stuff like that. So, how's everybody doing? Let me give you guys some updates on kind of what's going on over here on this end. Nothing crazy, y'all, but it is Black History Month. So, thank you. One of the best times of the year, and also one of the worst times of the year. You may say, Amber, why is that? Well, because the crazies and the racists come out, and Black History Month is when people really want to come out their neck and say some disrespectful things. So I wanted to just kind of share a brief little history of Black History Month and how it started. So it's not something that's new. This is not some new woke holiday from the Democrats, from Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden. It started actually as a response to the lack of information and accomplishments of Black Americans that was available to the public. This started around 1915. There was a historian, Carter G. Woodson. He co-founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. So by 1926, the group had declared the second week of February as Negro History Week. And it was to recognize the contributions of African Americans to U.S. history. A few people studied Black history, so it really wasn't something that was available in the textbooks, which honestly is the same reason that we still have it now. So that is how Negro History Week began. This week was chosen because Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln both have birthdays that are in February. And both of those people contributed to Black Americans becoming free and ending slavery. So, a week-long event officially became Black History Month in 1976 when U.S. President Gerald Ford extended the recognition to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. And Black History Month has been celebrated in the United States ever since. And that is just something to remind all of us out there, and to also remind the naysayers out there. I have been doing Black History Month programs and been involved in Black History Month since I was a little girl. My mom used to do Black History Month programs on whatever Army installation we were living on during that time. And so I was always kind of brought up around that and involved in that. So it's not something that's new. When I actually was in the Navy, it was the first time that I ever been around people that hated Black History Month so much. I remember being kind of excited about it. And one of my friends who I worked with, he was like, yeah, you'll see. He was like, I try not to even bring it up because it just gets real racist around here. And he was right. The whole time it just turned into, why isn't there a White History Month? Black History Month is racist. Why can't I say this, or why can't I say that? And it just was so unbearable. And I see the same things still kind of floating around online with people posting. And one of the biggest things is people thinking that it's some like new woke holiday. At least if you're gonna hate something and be against it, at least know about it and maybe do a little Google first. So we have 12 months, and one of the things that I loved and learned about while I was serving our country was that all these months have different themes and different celebrations. There's the month of the military child, there's Women's History Month, there's Asian American Heritage Month, and so many more. And it's not just Black History Month. And it's crazy to me that this is the only one that gets singled out and the only one that gets criticized and the only one that gets picked on. And I wonder why that is. So, over here in Scranton, Pennsylvania, on February 17th, from 1 to 5 p.m. at the marketplace at Steamtown, there is a Black History Month house fair that is being put on by the Lackawanna County NAACP and also Geisinger. I will be there as well, and I will have some copies of my book available, 72 Hours of Hell, My Time in a VA, available for sale there. So if you are around this area, please feel free to come out and hang out, hit up the Black Health Fair. And some of you might be saying, why is there the need for a Black Health Fair? Well, as COVID showed us, there are some very extreme differences in health outcomes between different cultures and races in our country. So there are things that affect Black Americans as far as diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, strokes, heart disease that affect us disproportionately more than any other group in our country. So when they have different health fairs, they're specifically targeted for people who are dealing with these issues. So they have the opportunity to know that. It's American Heart Month. And so one of the leading causes of death of women and Black women and Black people in general is heart disease, cardiovascular disease, it's heart attacks, it's strokes. When we hear about a lot of our fave actors or rappers who are dying when they're 40s and 50 years old, a lot of times it's due to undiagnosed and untreated heart disease of some sort, because those things can actually kill you. So for this month, I posted a picture of me with obviously the rare red for American Heart Month, and then also with my CPAP machine, Team CPAP, guys. I'm trying to get better because that can help you not die from cardiovascular disease. So I'm saying that for myself, okay? I'm letting myself know. So we just celebrated at the podcast our 50th regular season episode. Thank you. Thank you. That is just so exciting. So I wanted to explain a little bit about how kind of I have the podcast broken up. So the podcast is Politics But Make It Fashion. And I also have a subcategory under that podcast, which is Politics But Make It Fashion, Come Interview With Me. So Come Interview With Me just started on season 2, and we just released our first episode of an interview. I did it with the Savvy Sagittarius money mentor. So I'm going to have a couple other interviews that are going to be coming out here soon. Politics But Make It Fashion, regular episodes. We're on season 3, and this is last week was our 50th episode. And then, as you must know, I did start another podcast called My Culty College, which chronicles my time and my fellow disciples' times being in a very culty evangelical fundamentalist college. So you guys will definitely have to check that out. So Fashion Week is coming up here, and I'm super excited about that. If you guys follow me on social media, you know I've been posting tons of pictures, tons of things. The Grammys is tonight, and obviously they call it the biggest night of music. I look forward to the red carpet and seeing what everybody's wearing and what jewelry people have on, what shoes, their hair, all of that stuff is honestly so much more interesting to me than the whole rest of the night. So if you guys follow me on social media at Amber Viola, then you guys can definitely check out my favorites from tonight, because I'm definitely going to be posting those things. So some updates from the Israel-Hamas war. As of February 2nd, there was a preliminary investigation that showed that at least 85 journalists and media people have been killed since this whole war started. So 85 journalists and media workers were among the 27,000 killed since the war began on October 7th, with more than 26,000 Palestinians dead and more than 1,200 Israelis dead as well. There are more strikes to come from the US and from the UK on Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. These strikes are in retaliation for Houthi strikes against Americans, against other people in the area. This is all due to what is happening in Israel and Palestine. So now we have a full-fledged war and strikes on many different countries because of this situation that is currently going on. And I, of course, will continue to keep you guys updated. We really need a ceasefire. The death toll is insanely high. Even just the fact that 85 journalists have been killed. And it's not like all these journalists were killed in bombings, which obviously would not be okay. But a lot of them have been killed by snipers. And so that means that they're being targeted. So these journalists are being targeted from spreading the truth about what is really happening in Gaza. And it is a shame and it is very, very sad. So with that, we'll stay along the lines of the military stuff. Have you guys heard that the Navy is currently lowering their standards? So to join the military, previously you have needed to have either a GED or a high school diploma. But now the Navy is saying that you do not need either of those. And if you can score a 50 on the ASVAB, which is the test that you need to come into the military, then you can come in. So I want to know what you guys think about that. And I don't know how I think about it. There's people who feel like this is because we're going to start letting a bunch of illegals into the military, and um, so they won't have a high school diploma. So this is why they needed to change this rule to let them in. Other people are saying that it's due to, and this is what I believe, people aren't joining. And a lot of people are disqualified from joining either due to health, mental health, weight, or like any type of physical abnormalities or a past felony record. So all those things create a very small pool of people that the military can normally choose from. Out of that pool of people, it's still a voluntary force. So you have to think about now how many people actually want to volunteer. And we are seeing in real time the way that the military, the way that the Department of Veterans Affairs treats its service members and its veterans. People see that. People are talking about it. And to me, that's one huge reason why people are not joining the military. Why? So that you can go to college for free. Is college for free worth a lifetime of PTSD and your knees hurting? Is it worth the veteran suicide rate that's an epidemic that is still not being necessarily taken care of? Why would people want to join the service if it's basically nothing to show for it afterwards? And everything that they kind of said that you got and all those incentives really aren't worth it and don't seem to outweigh what happens when you're there. And I think that's a really, really big reason. So definitely let me know what you guys think about that. So it's Valentine's Day is coming up, and I got asked by a couple of guys about what to get their girlfriends, their women, their wives, their partners for Valentine's Day. So, first things first, I would say I was kind of funny to get this question. Just because it was so random and I got it from a couple of different guys that I know. But I would say you need to know your partner. If you have a bougie girl, then you know you have a bougie girl. So every woman doesn't necessarily want jewelry or expensive things. But if you know your partner and that's what they want, then that's what they want. It doesn't have to be anything super expensive. It also doesn't have to be your standard like flowers and chocolates. If you're gonna go the standard flowers and chocolate route, listen to me. Listen to me. Do not come into your house with a giant grocery bag with the receipt still in the bag and a box of chocolates, a card, and some flowers in your hand and walk into the house. Okay? Don't do that, because the issue is not about what you have. It's about the lack of effort. If you're going to go that route, have them delivered to where they work at, have them in the house in the morning when your partner gets up, or have them there when they get back from work so that they're there, they're set up. It looks like you put some effort into it. Okay? It's about the effort. If you don't have any money, write them a letter, buy them a card, and actually write something in there that's heartfelt. Now, for all my married people out there, if you come out your mouth and say that, well, I want to give my partner a day of rest, I want to give mom the day off, do not leave the house a complete disaster for her to come clean the next day. Do you understand that? Don't do that, because that's not a day off. Now you just gave me double work. If you're going to tell your partner to rest and you're going to do everything, then you do everything. You clean the house, you wash the dishes, you do the laundry, whatever that person would have done throughout the week, then you need to do that so that the next day they are not coming downstairs or coming back home to a absolute complete disaster. Okay? And we will be right back. 72 Hours of Hell, My Time in a VA is a short story about my time in the Veterans Affairs Hospital on a voluntary 72-hour hold. I was falling down a rabbit hole and I could no longer see the light or a way out. I reached out to my VA therapist to discuss my crippling depression and anxiety. This journey through involuntary hold was marked by humiliation, broken promises, and a profound sense of vulnerability. My path towards seeking help was extremely challenging. Despite the setbacks faced, I hope my journey will lead other veterans and anyone else facing mental health issues to the care and the support that they might desperately need. 72 Hours of Hell, My Time in a VA is available on Amazon in paperback and on Amazon Kindle. Hey, welcome back. And so I wanted to kind of talk about something that's been going on in my personal neck of the woods up here. So I live in NEPA, and we have just seen kind of a growing sense of unsafe, not feeling safe, and growing gang violence that's happening around our city. We live in kind of a little bit of an isolated area. It's not a big city. The population's around 77,000 people. Um, so to think that we have a gang problem or a violent issue is honestly just crazy. So a few weeks ago, we had a detective named Gil Martin, who was shot and wounded. So he was a 9-year veteran of the force, and he right now is, I believe he's in a rehab facility. So he was injured by being shot at, and the suspect that shot him was also injured and hospitalized as well. But the issue with that comes down to it is the age of these kids who are creating this issue for the whole city, that are doing these heinous crimes. It's young children. So for me, my perspective is slightly different. I have a kid who goes to school here. So anytime something happens and it's crazy, the schools are affected, the schools are placed on lockdown. When this officer was shot, there was a suspect on a loose that they were not able to find. So the schools were doing virtual school for a couple days just due to it not necessarily being safe. Last week there was a lockdown at my daughter's school due to a domestic violence issue that was right around the corner from her school. A man had held his wife hostage and was threatening to kill her, and then left his house and was walking around waving a gun around, so their school was on lockdown. And even before these shootings started happening at the beginning of the year, there were just tons of bomb threats and issues that were going on. And it kind of feels a little bit scary. Recently, police have arrested more juveniles for gang-related crimes. For example, there was a June 2022 stabbing that was crazy, and that involved kids. I'm talking like 14, 15, and 16-year-olds. So the issue is, what are we doing for that? So there is a recruiting effort, and this is what the police believe. There's a recruiting effort going on to get these younger kids who are vulnerable to join these organizations. Many times that really just does happen. We are arresting very, very young kids with loaded firearms. One of the last events that happened about 2 weeks ago, there was a kid, a child, because I believe he was like 14 or 15 years old, who was coming from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, a rival gang, to Scranton, Pennsylvania, to shoot up the high school. So he had a rifle and was across from the high school and ended up being stopped. Somebody saw him and called 911, and the police stopped and arrested him. And then again, the schools are going on lockdown and things, but I promise you, when I first heard about it, I thought it was an adult. And even when I was looking at the pictures, because some wonderful armchair detective took a video of it, and I thought it was going to be a grown up, and it was not. And the fact that it was a kid, it just breaks my heart on so many different levels. Like, kids killing kids is so sad, but especially just these kids have nothing. If you're willing to just be walking down the street with a rifle to go just walk into a high school and shoot up a rival gang at a rival high school, like, that outcome is not going to be good, right? Like, it's not going to end well for you. So for these kids to just really feel like they have nothing, that's so sad, and that's so scary to me. And an issue I kind of feel like is not necessarily being addressed and talked about is, what do we people are having a conversation of what do we do now, but a lot of it is, okay, we need more police, or we need to throw more money at the police. The police More police do not stop crime from happening. They are there after the fact. They are there to clean up a mess. They're not necessarily a deterrent, and this is not a diss at all to police officers. It's just the way they come after a crime has been committed. And having more police on the street does not deter people from committing crimes. Having harsher punishment doesn't deter people from committing crimes. These kids obviously have nothing if they're willing to just walk around with a rifle to go shoot up a school in broad daylight. They're willing to get felony charges by calling in bomb threats. Um, if they're stabbing people at Turkey Hill when they're 14 years old. There's so many other issues that we're not dealing with. And, one of them that is very specific to Scranton is we have a big homeless youth population here. And we do have a wonderful youth shelter, the shout out to the NEPA youth shelter. But the issue is they are not open 24 hours. So once they close at night, these kids are going back outside. They're being released out into the streets. These kids obviously are unhoused. So they're either sleeping in cars, going to friends' houses, couch surfing, or they're just sleeping outside or roaming the streets all night because it's not really actually safe to sleep outside, especially as a child. What do you think that they're going to get into at night? Why do you think gangs would be appealing to them and offering them something that they don't have? Yeah, if you're out there sleeping on the street and it's cold here. So there's times where it's absolutely freezing when we have that cold spike, thinking about shelters closing and kids being forced to leave outside, and then wondering why is the crime rate high? Why is gang violence high? Because you have kids that have nowhere to go. They have nothing. We can talk about the gentrification of athletics and of sports, and how you used to be able to just put your kid in t-ball or baseball or basketball, and it was either free or maybe it was like $10, and then the teams raised money to buy their uniforms. You don't even have that now. Now if your kid wants to play sports, you have to pay hundreds of dollars for them to be able to play a sport. So what do the kids do that can't afford that? Where do they go? What do they do on the weekend? We have a pool here, and everybody was mad about our pools not working and all this stuff is waste of money. Know what a waste of money was? Adding all of those slides and making it so expensive that you priced half of the city out so people couldn't go to the pool all the time. People used to go to the pool every day. But when you make something $5, $10 per person now because you wanted to add a slide, and there's a family of 4 who used to go to the pool every day, how can you afford to go to the pool every day now if it's that much? Even sports at high school level and middle school level, all of those things aren't often just available and paid for by the students anymore. So even students in those situations don't always have the money to be able to be in a sport, to be able to play something. Then you take away things like busing. Well, what does busing affect? It doesn't just affect kids getting to school. Busing affects extracurricular activities. If your parents are working and you're going to play basketball, how are you going to get home once practice is over? If there's no buses and you don't have a way, then you're not going to play that sport. Then you're not going to do that. So now you're home for what, 4+ hours until your parents get home, doing nothing because you can't participate in the sport because there's no transportation anymore, or there's no more funding for that school to provide you everything that you need to play that sport. So your family has to supplement those things and they don't have the money. Community centers, those things reduce the crime rate. Preschool education, daycares, those things reduce the crime rate. Having jobs available and jobs programs available, those things reduce the crime rate. Having arts programs in school, music programs, athletic programs, not cutting the budget to schools, not cutting the budget for all of these other things, those things all lower the crime rate. So when we're talking about our influx of gang violence and what's happening to our city and what's wrong with these kids don't have the same opportunities that we all had, that I had. When I was little, I played basketball all the time. I played AAU basketball. I played for um like a recreational team. I practiced a couple nights a week, and guys, it was like $10 to sign up. And at one point we did have free uniforms, or we would sell candy to pay for the uniforms. You can't even do that now. I was looking at signing my kid up for the t-ball, and it was $100 some. I was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. To put him in gymnastics, to put him in dance. My baby does art, and she goes to art classes, and it's almost $200 for 6 to 8 weeks for her to be involved in those art lessons. We're gentrifying sports and fun for our kids. We're taking away extracurricular activities. We don't have community centers. And then we're wondering why our kids are being enticed by gangs and joining gangs, and why there's this huge influx of gang violence. And it's something that needs to be talked about, and it's something that needs to be done, because myself and so many other parents are so nervous and scared of sending our kids to school, because every week it is something terrible happening. Last week it was people looking for a shooter and different things, and then the week after that, there's a domestic violence incident and the school's on lockdown because some man is running around with a gun outside the school. Like, these things are crazy, and we have to do better. And solving the problem does not always include raising the police budget and adding more police. And that doesn't mean I'm anti-police or whatever. It just means that if you look at the data and you look at things that actually help reduce crime and help create a safer, more sustainable community, those things just aren't really it. So, on that note, I hope everyone has a wonderful first week of Black History Month. Please make sure you check out the events if you are living in the NEPA area from the Black Scranton Project. There's many events going on in Black History Month. As I said before, there is a Black Health Fair that is coming up, and it is on February 17th from 1 to 5 p.m., and it's brought to you by the NAACP of Lackawanna County and Geisinger, and it is at the Marketplace at Steamtown in Scranton. Like I said, I will have a table there talking about mental health, and I will also have my book available to purchase, 72 Hours of Hell, My Time in the VA. Make sure that you guys who are listening right now go give us a subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen. And you can follow us on YouTube at Politics But Make It Fashion, on Facebook at Politics But Make It Fashion, on TikTok at Politics But Make It Fashion, and we are on Instagram at Politics But Make It Fashion 1. And we will chat soon.